What's happening? This is Joshua Boyce and you're watching Sporting Icons.
Now, I didn't get a chance to watch the Anthony Yarde versus Lyndon Arthur fight live last night. I had some things to do. But, of course, I have watched it since. But, of course, last night, I'm always checking on results. I knew what the result was before I watched it earlier on today. But online, I'm seeing a lot of people laughing at Frank Warren. It's all Over-Rover. This is what people are saying of Frank Warren, because obviously that's what he said about Dillian Whyte when he was ecstatic, the fact that Dillian Whyte lost. And some people are calling it karma, all that kind of thing, because last weekend, his prospect in Daniel Dubois, he took a loss. And, of course, last night, Anthony Yarde took another loss. Now, first and foremost, huge credit to both Lyndon Arthur and Anthony Yarde, plus Daniel Dubois and Joe Joyce, all four of these guys for stepping up and taking risky fights. Okay, so we do have to give them huge credit, plus Frank Warren for actually putting them on. Now, as far as, is it over? Well, I don't know. I mean, it's not good for him, is it? But at the same time, we could also flip it and say, but Joe Joyce is still his fighter. Lyndon Arthur is still his fighter. In fact, Lyndon Arthur and Joe Joyce are currently undefeated. A lot of people are overlooking Lyndon Arthur as well. A lot of people were. He's a fantastic fighter. And I know quite a few people within boxing who was actually picking Lyndon Arthur to beat Yarde. And that's exactly what he's done. Now, I know that Anthony Yarde, he feels like he won the fight, all that kind of stuff. But that's what boxers believe, okay? But the reality is, no, Lyndon Arthur won that fight. And I don't want to go in hard on Anthony Yarde or Tunde Ajayi or anything like that, because obviously from time to time I do speak with Spencer Fearon, who of course is very, very close with Tunde Ajayi. But the truth is, Anthony Yarde can't block a jab. He can't block it, he can't slip it, he can't get out of the way. There's nothing he can do when somebody throws a jab. We've seen that against Sergey Kovalev. He got his face jabbed off. Much like Daniel Dubois, he got his face jabbed off as well with Joe Joyce. So something's going on with these prospects where the most basic defense, one of the first things that you learn is to get out of the way of a jab to make sure that that thing doesn't land flush. Easier said than done, that's for sure. But that's twice now. That's two fights. Anthony Yarde couldn't block a jab from Sergey Kovalev and couldn't do it with Lyndon Arthur. That's worrying signs for me. Now he's taken two losses because he can't defend a jab. That's pretty much how I saw it. Now, I know that Frank Warren, he was saying, well, Anthony Yarde, he's proven to be on that world level because of that one round that he had against Sergey Kovalev. I mean, for me, one round, that doesn't legitimize anything. It really doesn't. But if people are going to go with that narrative that Anthony Yarde, because he had that excellent round against Sergey Kovalev, then let's give massive, massive props to Lyndon Arthur. Because for me, he put on an excellent display. Don't get me wrong, Anthony Yarde, he did wobble him at one point in that fight, that's for sure, but Lyndon Arthur recovered very, very quickly. He'd done the right thing. Showed a bit of maturity as well. He grabbed hold of Yarde, which is great. That's exactly what it is that you want to see. But Anthony Yarde definitely lost that fight, in my opinion. I'm not really going to go around the houses and dispute people who will say otherwise. I'm not doing that. But in my opinion, I think that Lyndon Arthur did win that fight. There were some close rounds, that's for sure. But is it over for Frank Warren? I don't know, but it's certainly not a good look, especially when you look at the whole Queensberry versus Matchroom thing. I know that Frank Warren, he said he ain't having a meet with Eddie Hearn, and because of what Eddie Hearn said about Daniel Dubois. But yeah, it's perfectly okay for Frank Warren to say those things about Eddie Hearn's fighter in Dillian Whyte, right? It's what it is. But now that Anthony Yarde has lost two, the whole Matchroom Queensberry thing, it's lost a bit of luster, isn't it? Because what Frank Warren wanted to do outside of Joshua and Fury was to have Daniel Dubois versus Dillian Whyte. I said back then that was a huge mistake. And Anthony Yarde versus Joshua Buatsi. Well, that fight is no longer palatable right now because Anthony Yarde has just taken a loss. Yarde, he does have a rematch clause with Lyndon Arthur, so these guys will get that rematch on at some point. But if he doesn't work on that defense for that jab, he's just going to lose again, isn't he? It is what it is. But of course, he is a prospect. It's not over for both Dubois. It's not over for Anthony Yarde either, but it's certainly not a good look. And with Frank Warren, it's not an ideal 2020, of course, with the live gates not being there. Of course, everything started off great back in February with Tyson Fury, of course, defeating Deontay Wilder. But then the pandemic hit. Obviously, couldn't put on boxing for the longest time. Now he's had no crowd, so not too much money coming in as far as profit is concerned, and two of his top guys have now lost. Two of his hopefuls have lost in Daniel Dubois and Anthony Yarde. But as I said before, let's give massive props to Joe Joyce for doing a job on Daniel Dubois, and let's give huge props to Lyndon Arthur for doing a job on Anthony Yarde. But no, it's not ideal for Frank Warren, that's for sure. In fact, I'm pretty sure he can't wait for 2020 to be over and done with. I'm sure he can't. But Frank Warren, he's a wily old veteran. He'll have some other aces in his sleeve somewhere, that's for sure. But hopefully now he will look at some of the other guys that he's got in his stable and give them a bit more of a push. Like Troy Williamson, for example, plus quite a few others. Of course, with Sonny Edwards in that as well. Charlie Edwards is there, of course, as well. Dennis McCann and quite a few others. So hopefully these guys get a bit more limelight. It's not just the Daniel Dubois show, the Tyson Fury show, and the Anthony Yarde show. Although, I mean, for all intents and purposes, Tyson Fury is pretty much a top-rank Bob Arum fighter, isn't he? Because obviously he's fighting over in America. But anyway, it is what it is. This is boxing. This is boxing, isn't it? Anyway, that's my thoughts. You drop me yours. Click a thumbs up. Subscribe. Catch you all in the next video.